Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, digital change champions, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. In this episode, I take a look back at bloopers and best bits from 1 year of podcasting. Yes, it's JSB Talks Digital's first birthday. In social media news, Facebook launches new cross-border insights tool to highlight international opportunities for advertisers. Periscope users can now connect to their Facebook and Google accounts. And Snap is developing a second version of Spectacles, and their first version are now available in Europe. This week's interview section is replaced with a mashup of my top 20 quotes from a year of podcast interviews. In shoutouts, I bring you behind the scenes of JSB in studio with my brilliant bloopers. Ask JSB, find out what my listeners want to know about my podcasting routine. In JSB's column, a year of podcasting, what I've learned, what I've gained, and where I'm going. And find out what podcasting tool made my working week.
Social media news.
Do you want to discover new growth opportunities beyond borders on Facebook? Well, now you can with their new cross-border insights tool, which highlights international opportunities for advertisers. You can find out which markets are more likely to convert, cost less, and encounter fewer ads. You can build a truly global business from anywhere with a single campaign. So here's how it works. Reach the right people. Connect with your global customers. Discover how to target entire regions so that your ads will be delivered and optimized for those who are most likely to meet your campaign objectives. Form actionable insights. Learn from businesses who have run ads in the countries you want to run ads in too. Make informed decisions based on aggregated campaign results across Facebook, Instagram, and audience network. Make data look easy. Let complex data speak for itself with a simple tool that anyone can use. You can explore, download, and share insights for real cross-border collaboration. I know for sure that I am going to be using this tool to target policing, politics, and public policy interests across the US, the UK, and Australia this summer. Find out more on the blog associated with this podcast at digitaltraining.ie about cross-border insights from Facebook. Did you know that you can now connect your Facebook and Google accounts to Periscope on iOS or on the web to find friends, share broadcasts before they begin, or to log in to the app? But that's not all. Once you connect your accounts, you can use them to log in, share your broadcasts on Facebook, and get suggestions based on Facebook friends or Google contacts who are on Periscope. Do note, however, that you can only connect your Periscope account with one Google and one Facebook account. You can set this up in iOS or on the web for the moment, and the feature will be coming to Android very soon. This development will help us amplify our Periscope broadcasts to a larger audience. Snap is developing a second version of Spectacles, and their first version are now available in Europe. Finally, Snap Spectacles are available for me to buy. Those of us who live in Europe can buy a pair of sunglasses on Snap's website or in a Snap vending machine. So are you going to log on to spectacles.com to buy a pair? They cost €149.99. The new set of spectacles allow their owner to take photos and videos which can then be posted to the Snapchat service. But also, there's a new feature added. According to TechCrunch, the next version of Spectacles are being billed as quite different, and they may have augmented reality features built in. I'm excited about my new Spectacles. The only problem will be that I actually won't be able to see unless I invest in contact lenses. Oh dear, the trials and tribulations of social media and JSB.
Interviews.
In today's birthday episode, I am sharing my 20 favourite quotes from a year of podcast interviews. I want to take this opportunity to thank every single person who has shared their insights with all of us on JSB Talks Digital over the past 12 months. You guys rock. So here's the top 20 quotes of my podcasting year From Ian Cleary to Roberto Blake, Mary-Alice Curran, Bobby and Sophie Burke, and Richard Corbridge. A real eclectic mix of voices and experience. I've also created shareable social media graphics on the blog associated with this podcast, so be sure to share them with your community.
JSB Talks Digital.
Everyone's doing interviews now. Even on Snapchat, you will see people do interviews, be it PR interviews or marketing interviews or interviews with people. And ultimately, the people that are on Snapchat are doing the exact same thing as what a great interview is on radio or TV. It's a conversation where it doesn't sound like an interview. It sounds like that you're eavesdropping on a very personal conversation between two people.
So you need to build relationships with that audience, because people are more likely to do business with you and interact with your content if there's a relationship with them. And providing really valuable, useful content is a good way of building relationships at scale. So you offer relationships, I for inbound traffic. So after you do all that work on social media, you need to get people to your website, because that's still where action takes place.
What I have found, moved away from the traditional photography, and when I go to events and stuff, my tagline I've decided that really gets the message across is that tomorrow is too late. So I capture the content, and it's not perfect, but it's the capture in the moment, it's the authenticity, it's in the moment, capturing that moment down the corridor in video, one take, no edit, getting it up online, and it's getting engagement live. And for the audience who are not at the event, they nearly feel like they're there and they feel like they're missing out, so they come the next time. And it's that instant engagement.
Their audience come to them and trust them because of who they are, the advice they give, the reviews they give. And if they are individuals who only ever say good things in return for payment, well then, that's going to create a lack of trust. I think the big long-term issue for the blogging community, the influencer community, is the monetization, how they monetize their reach and their influence without undermining their credibility. And that's the challenge all aspects of media are facing at the moment, and the issues surrounding influencer engagement are no different than websites with sponsored content, newspapers with native advertising.
You have to look at the bottom line. If they're about generating money, this is free news, and you have to say at what point do you start making money out of that. And yes, you can disseminate all of this populist opinion, but and it may help your readerships, but really what people want when they turn to a news organisation is they want truth, they want fact.
Well, I started taking YouTube seriously in July of 2013. You can say my account is from 2009, but that's not when I actually really did anything with YouTube. I didn't start until July of 2013 is when I started doing at least one upload a week. And I don't think until you're doing that, unless you're a filmmaker or an animator or somebody doing very, very high produced content, then you can't say that you're a YouTuber or that you're doing YouTube until you're putting out content every week.
How have you found social media for your business, Santa?
Social media has really changed the way Santa does his work and the way we communicate with people. I am now able to see boys and girls from behind being good from not just my Robins, but by their mummies and daddies' postings about how good or bad their behaviour has been on social media. But I suppose most of all, I love being able to share updates from our work here in the North Pole. And we record videos with the elves and the reindeers, of course, and me reading letters and Mrs. Claus keeping the house going. Shh, I mustn't say that.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that individuals make about social media is that they do make it all about me. I actually like to call it social eudia. My tip would be listen twice as much as you speak. So it's quite generic, but it's relevant no matter what profile you're on. I mean, look at how we're designed: 2 ears, 1 mouth. So everybody likes to speak about themselves. We're all our favorite topic of discussion. So if you want people to engage with you, ask them what they want. Request information from them. They will tell you. They will absolutely tell you exactly what they're looking for.
One thing I found when I started using social media was, I had nothing else to post about except for myself. I live out in rural Ireland, so it is sometimes difficult. Definitely curating other people's content, sharing other people's content, commenting on other people's blog posts, support other people. I think managing, this is kind of going into another tip, but I think managing your expectation of how social actually drives sales. It's social selling, it's building relationships. All of that takes time to nurture. I always have the mother approach when it comes to social media. Look after people and they'll look after you.
You have to keep in mind that this is all about marketing. Okay, it's proof positive that marketing works and that social marketing works. No one, even in the Trump camp, in my opinion, will make a direct claim that he's actually qualified. They have done an incredible job selling, marketing the need for change, no matter who the change agent is and no matter what he used to support or express that need for change. So make no mistake about it. Social media has found its place driving the marketing of the most significant win and marketing campaign in American history. I guess all the experts preaching you can't change people's minds about politics using social media miss this one.
There's a big mindset, I think, between or for parents that, there's a separation between their children's online life and their actual life, but it's not. That's not the way it is anymore. It's all connected as one. Like, we don't see it as, this is Facebook, this is a social networking site. We see it as, this is my life and I'm sharing it with everyone.
With animated video, you get all of the same benefits that you get with traditional video, like a boost in engagement, customers better connecting to your product, increased online visibility and SEO. But the difference with animated video compared to traditional video is that you can visually represent your abstract ideas and manage the production process without being bound by constraints like reality and daylight. You can make videos much more easily and quickly that are still very effective.
Well, I downloaded the app maybe 6 months ago, but really I had heard about it and I downloaded it first to just follow celebrities myself. Had no intention of snapping. And then when I opened the app and got to see how some people were using it, I just thought, wow, this is like the ultimate platform for journalists because it's all about storytelling. And I was really shocked at how little journalists were actually using it. As you will know too, as a former journalist, and especially in broadcast journalism, we're used to telling stories and we're used to being very concise and informative and clear. And I think Snapchat is the perfect platform for that.
We started with the Register to Vote campaign on social media. We used it as a way of kind of reaching all of our target audiences right around the country. And then, as I said, as the campaign progressed, it just kind of grew and grew. But not only was it a tool, say, to communicate our key messages, I think where it really proved its mettle was in terms of mobilizing and organizing. There was 60 plus Yes Equality groups all around the country, from Yes Equality Dublin 7 to Yes Equality Ballinasloe. And a lot of those originated from Facebook groups, Facebook pages, and then people were joining those, and then they organized a meeting. So that's how these bases were growing and building right across the country.
I guess the reason for saying that digital health is the only way the healthcare system can reform is very much when we talk about reforming the system. We want the system to be more efficient and safer. The only way to do that is by having integrated care. And the only way you can really achieve integrated care is having what we're terming a digital fabric. You think currently there are 10,000 people in primary care with no IT to support what they do. There are 10,000 people in primary care that are delivering care with pens and paper. You can't integrate the healthcare journey if it's pens and paper very easily.
Less than 2 weeks ago, I was able to sign the Memorandum of Understanding, which creates the individual health identifier. This means that all 4.6 plus million people in Ireland will have an individual health identifier for them and for us. This means that all of their health records can be connected both by them and by their authorised treating clinician. For the first time, this means we won't have to have unnecessary duplication of tests. Information will be available more quickly on their point of presentation, particularly if it's an emergency presentation, and this can only produce a better outcome. So we are leapfrogging a couple of generations effectively by bringing that about. That all needs to be part of a seamless electronic health record, which is joining together systems that we already have.
You can make money from blogging, but it is consistency and it doesn't happen overnight. So there are bloggers in Ireland right now making a living out of blogging. Me personally, I don't make a living out of it, but it has helped me grow my business, Mini Media, because of my blog. It has introduced me to people that I would have never met. So from that point of view, it is earning me money.
Yeah, you're indirectly making money from your blog.
Well, what I'm doing right now, even as a mother, as an educator and a mother, learning alongside my 9-year-old, we're trying to model, what it takes to use social media to change, and I look at it like neighborhoods and communities. And so, your neighborhood could be your school, it could be your neighborhood, it could be the local, it could be at the state level, it could be national, it's global, it's digital. Ultimately, to me, if you were to ask people to define what does digital citizenship mean, I think, if you get a definition, people say, oh, it's about being socially responsible online. And I see it as more than that. I see this like social justice piece where it's action. It's not something you talk about or you read about. It's not something that we do stranger danger and we do scare tactics and you should avoid this. We look at social media and digital citizenship as a way to encourage and to change communities at the local, global, and digital level.
Why do you love gaming so much?
Because it's fun. You can actually, if it's a building game, you can build stuff like a house or a tower.
It's an industry now that's focusing on this instantaneous communication. Now, the challenge is that communication can be contradictory. One tweet can say one thing, in the next few days it can say something else. And now countries are getting their information. So I look at the world of diplomacy. Now, why do we have embassies? Why do we have foreign ministries if leaders are going to communicate directly, unfiltered to each other through social media?
What police departments really have to focus on, and I haven't seen enough of it, is really letting the public know what can be done in social media, what can't be done on social media, what the responsibilities of police departments are, what the responsibilities of the public are. Because let's face it, a good communications operator hears a neighbor dispute, they can pretty much put it to bed without it ever going to the agency to be dispatched to. Same thing, a really good social media operator can put those problems to bed without ever having to escalate it to an investigation or pass it off to the frontline response officers.
Shoutouts. In this part of the show, I give shoutouts to brands, organisations or individuals whose work online is remarkable and worth talking about. But in this week's first birthday show, I'm taking a look back at my best bloopers, otherwise known as my worst bits that never make the final cut. In the world of podcasting, there are plenty of mistakes before the final edit goes to air. So, here's some of JSB's finest bloopers as put together by Owen.
JSB talks digital.
Increase voter engagement, generate media opportunities, communicate your campaign manifesto, as well as to clarify misinformation and digital untruths. Is that a word?
Untruths, yeah.
Cool, okay. Should we have bespoke groups or pairs of emojis that we tell our followers to use to share, engage or promote a particular conversation, just like the way we use hashtags? However, I can see one other clear benefit. Because of Twitter's 140 character limit, emojis can be helpful as an emoji can replace a whole word. Sorry, I just banged my ring off the leg. If you want to have a digital transformation My final digital marketing bite is you have to pay to play. Did you know at the... Will I take that from the top? I tried it out and it's amazing. I captured it on video too for... Sorry. Their dedicated hashtag wow, being used across social media, so be sure to check it out. Oh shit, I'll start that from the top. Sorry, I've made so many mistakes. What stories will you tell, and on what platforms will they be told? We have so many options open to us now that I'll take it from the top. But that has left many marketers in a data spin. So I thought I would share some insights in this column on how you can use social data. Oh, I obviously like using both of them. Ask yourself, are they the right prospects? So are you going to log on to spectacles.com to buy a pair? They cost $149. No, they don't. They cost €149.99. The first set of spectacles went on sale last year. No! Sorry. I'm just adding new content for Bloopers, clearly.
I was just thinking that.
Ask JSB.
In this week's show, my listeners ask me about podcasting and what I've learned from a full year of producing a weekly show. I have really great questions this week, so a big thanks to Katrin Hill, a Facebook marketing expert from Germany, Marie-Claire Baird of NowMedia.live, and Sigrun Gudjonstetter, lifestyle entrepreneur and business strategist, and also my business coach.
Hi Joanne, my name is Katrin from katrinhill.com. I'm a Facebook marketing expert in Germany. I'm about to start my podcast and I was wondering, throughout your year, congratulations on 1 year of podcasting, have you changed your strategy at all? Have you changed anything about your podcasting experience? Did you have a different intro? Did you change your content, your call to actions, maybe even your distribution of the podcast? What was your strategy? Is it the same throughout the whole year, or is there a difference now as you have more experience?
Hi, Katrin. Really good to hear from you, and thank you so much for your question. I actually have changed quite a bit over the past 12 months. In fact, I've changed the intro to the show as I developed the concept. I also recently introduced a feature called Ask JSB. I actually wanted greater listener engagement, and I found that has definitely helped. About 6 months ago, I added Blurberry podcast statistics, and that gives me weekly statistics on who's listening to the show. About 6 months ago also, I created a special 8-part series on digital transformation in the public sector, which allowed me to focus on more in-depth topics. I've also leveraged Facebook Live to grow my listenership and brand awareness by broadcasting 2 shows live and extending them from about 20 minutes to 45 minutes. I recently added the podcast to Libsyn, the podcasting network, for greater exposure and amplification. And I've now also started to transcribe all shows for greater SEO visibility. And finally, I'm also repurposing the podcast material, which is so valuable, by conducting video interviews where possible and using those on my YouTube channel, and separating the audio from my podcast. I use Zoom for these interviews if I'm doing remote interviews, but if I'm doing face-to-face interviews, I will use my smartphone or Canon M3 camera and a Zoom H1 mic if I'm doing a face-to-face interview.
Hi, Joanne. Marie-Claire Baird from NowMedia.live. How's it going? I have 3 questions for you, kind of all rolled into one. With podcasting, initially, where do you start? How do you plan it? How far in advance do you plan? Do you storyboard it? Do you try and tell a story with the content, or is it just straightforward interview format you always work with? And then getting beyond those basics, my next question is, can you measure it? Can you measure the reach? What sort of analytics can you get? I see that you have it on 2, if not 3 platforms, iTunes and SoundCloud and something else. So you have 3 different platforms. What are the different analytics like? Which platform is the most listened to, do you find? Is it important to have it on all 3? Or different people have probably different preferences? So analytics, where to put it? Do we have to put it on everyone? I suppose it'll maximize your reach. There's about 6 questions in one. I look forward to your answers on Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Marie-Claire, and thank you for your question. I try to be 2 weeks ahead of myself when I'm producing my podcast, but in reality, that's not always the case, like today's show when I was sprinting into studio 5 minutes late. Usually then I record on the same week as the show airs, and because I have social media news, I like to be fairly current because I think this section is so useful to my listeners. It is important to me that I know how many people are listening to the podcast. I have to point out that it's not always possible to get the subscriber or download stats from iTunes or Stitcher. They don't provide them. However, there are other ways. So when measuring reach, there are a number of analytics that I use. I calculate the stats from my blog using Google Analytics. SoundCloud gives me total listens per show. I measure the video views and engagement rates for my Facebook livecasts. I also measure click-through rates on my weekly e-zine that goes out to my community every Monday containing the latest episode. I measure referral traffic from social to the blog associated with the podcast on Google Analytics. And most recently, I added Blurberry Podcast Statistics, which gives me real-time listens on a monthly basis. And did you know, on average, each podcast gets listened to 2,500 times within 7 days of it going live. My website traffic has grown substantially and in a year has resulted in an extra 65,000 hits.
Hi, my name is Sigrun, and I have a question about podcasting. I am planning to start with 100 episodes in 100 days, and I'm getting a little bit concerned about the time it takes to create each episode. I do have an editor, and I do have an assistant that's going to do the show notes, but how long time do you calculate for basically sitting down, making notes about your content, and recording your content, hopefully in one go, and then sending it off? That's what I would like to know. Thank you so much.
Hi Sigrun, and thank you so much for your question and the very best of luck with your new podcast. So it takes me 90 minutes to plan and script my weekly podcast. I would like to think that I have it fairly well perfected by now. It takes me 1 hour to record the show in studio, and that includes the interview, which lasts between 8 to 10 minutes. I then outsource the editing and production to Owen, and then my colleague Jamelia sets up the podcast on SoundCloud, on the blog, and sends it in my weekly e-zine. The podcast is automatically connected to iTunes and Stitcher, so once it goes on air, it goes onto those platforms. If you want to hear your voice on JSB Talks Digital, simply log on to digitaltraininginstitute.ie/askjsb, and you might find yourself and your question on air. I welcome all types of questions relating to digital marketing or social media.
Social media tool of the week.
Now that I have produced 52 podcasts, it's time to get more value from them. So the tool that saved my week this week is SpeechPad. It's a transcription service, and I'm going to have all my podcasts transcribed into text. Can you imagine the SEO value of that? Here's how it works. Upload your files and place your order. Easily upload your audio from wherever they are stored. For me, it's on SoundCloud. Placing an order is really quick and simple, and there are numerous options available to make sure you get exactly what you need. They have 5,000 qualified transcribers who work around the clock to produce fast and accurate results. I know, I've used the tool. And their system automatically matches jobs to relevant team members. You will be alerted as soon as your files are done, and they're delivered to you via email, FTP, or also available on your account dashboard. Do you need audio or video content transcribed or captioned? Then log on to speechpad.com. I love it and I can't wait to get all my podcasts transcribed into text, repurposed, and then exploding on the internet. Thank you so much for tuning into this special birthday episode of JSB Talks Digital. I've had so much fun putting it together. I'm off now to have some birthday cake. As always, everything mentioned on the show will be on the blog post at digitaltraining.ie. Please share the podcast with your friends. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe on your smartphone, on iTunes or on Stitcher. You can also subscribe on SoundCloud. Don't forget to submit your social media and digital marketing questions at digitaltraininginstitute.ie/askjsb. And please don't be a social media stranger. I love feedback, so please be sure to tweet me your thoughts to @tweetsbyJSB, post a comment on our Facebook page at Digital Training Institute, or send me a snap video to JSB Snaps. I'm Joanne Sweeney Burke. This is JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.